Congress has created a task force to look into that very subject. And we welcome now somebody who's been assigned to that task force. He is Republican Congressman Andy Barr of the state of Kentucky. So, Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. Let's start with the basics. What do you think we don't know right now about what happened with China and this virus?
Well, David, great to be with you. And yes, this is a very important task force to investigate not only China's role in the origins of the coronavirus, but the COVID-19 virus, and their cover-up and their disinformation campaign that allowed the virus to spread globally, but also the clear and present efforts of China to displace the United States as the world's superpower, and the serious risks that the Chinese Communist Party poses not only to the United States but to the global community, given some of the malign conduct that they're engaged in. Obviously, what you're seeing in Hong Kong is the most recent abuse that we want to confront and address, but there's a whole range of issues from their aspirations with their military to their violation of human rights, to the economic warfare that they're engaged in with Belt and Road Initiative, and a whole range of other concerns that we have.
The Chinese government has shown itself pretty effective at controlling information within China. So if there are things that you need to know, whether it's about the virus or about other issues, how do you hope to get information they don't want you to have?
Well, that's one of the problems, is that, and one of the aspects of the cover-up that we want to examine, the fact that China underreported their initial cases back in December, the fact that they lied about no human-to-human transmission and influenced the World Health Organization to repeat that lie, the cover-up by censoring whistleblowers like Dr. Li Wenliang, who was a doctor in Wuhan who sounded the alarm but ultimately died of the disease, the bureaucracy in Beijing silenced many other whistleblowers by cracking down on social media reports of a very dangerous and highly contagious pneumonia-like virus that was spreading to the hospitals there. That was valuable time that the world lost. And in the process, when the first reports came out about this and spread throughout the international community, many non-governmental organizations, faith-based organizations, the CDC in the United States offered to come in and help contain the contagion, and they were denied access. And that cover-up enabled the spread of the disease. And so, China, the Chinese Communist Party and their actions, they put the whole world at risk, not just health, but the economy. And we need to hold China accountable for that.
So that's the issue, isn't it, holding it accountable? Because certainly it would be nice to know a lot more of these things, but what can be done about it? It's not like we haven't imposed sanctions against China already. We're talking about further sanctions right now, like delisting some companies, changing their trade status, given what's gone on in Hong Kong. Have we done anything yet, the United States, that has actually changed Chinese government behavior?
Well, sanctions, you mentioned, is very important. It's an important tool, and we certainly have not utilized the full range of opportunities that we have in terms of economic sanctions to discourage this kind of malign activity. But there are a number of recommendations that we will be presenting and will be considering. As you mentioned and alluded to, the Senate recently passed a bill that would preclude Chinese companies from issuing securities on U.S. stock exchanges if those companies and the auditors of those companies are not subject to review by the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. It's really just leveling the playing field that investors should be entitled to the audit work papers related to a company's operations in China, just as they are.
If I could just interrupt you there for a second, Congressman. Do you think, excuse me, Congressman, do you think that will pass the House? Because you say it's passed the Senate. You're in the House. Do you think it's going to pass the House?
We're certainly going to be recommending a similar bill. We may be recommending something that goes further than that legislation. But there are more tools and there's more recommendations that we will be proposing. I think I recently spoke to the chairman of the Export-Import Bank. China has a number of export credit agencies that it uses to further its colonialism through the Belt and Road Initiative, we think we can reimagine and reform the Export-Import Bank to better counter Chinese aggression across the world. In addition, the United States can better utilize our role in the international financial institutions, in the IMF and the World Bank, to counter some of the economic warfare that China is engaged in.
Congressman, we're going to have to leave it there. It's really good. A lot to cover. Please come back. That's Andy Barr, Republican Congressman from Kentucky.